Hello and welcome to the Workhorse Drums podcast. This is Workhorse Drums and I am Chris Hamilton. Today is January 9th, 2020. Who gives a shit? So, I want to talk today about drummers. Oh no. That's what we're all here for, right?
I don't think so.
Even those that don't drum or interested in drumming. I know that I'm here because I love playing drums, and I just love drums in general. Drums. You think about it, all the way since mankind has been around, there has been drums, or at least pretty close to it. That's what the history books say. Supposedly we came from Africa, and many of the ancient tribes would dance around a person or persons that played the congos, the drums. Some do while intoxicated. And that is why it validates drumming is the best instrument of all time. Bar none.
Say it
All
with your
time.
chest.
Or at least I think so. Who's your favorite drummer? If we had to go with a list, that probably we'll just put 5 drummers, and let's just put drummers that most people would know
The animal.
that are great. Who would be on that list? Probably John Bonham. Probably Ringo Starr. Probably Charlie Watts from the Rolling Stones.
Who?
Probably Dave Grohl from Nirvana and Foo Fighters.
Yep.
And then, who would the 5th one be? Who was the 5th drum? Phil Collins, probably. Because Phil Collins was a drummer who also sang.
I can feel it.
And it seems that people love that. Notable mention would probably be Neil Peart. And maybe he would be on there before Charlie Watts. I don't know.
He's popular in Canada.
But that's probably the mainstream. That's probably the drummers that most people know. Like U2, one of the biggest bands. Not a lot of people know that Larry Mullen Jr. is the drummer for U2. Has been since they started, still is.
Who's the guy with the glasses?
Many people probably don't know who's the drummer in a lot of the bands that they really like.
I do.
But if I had to give you my list, which I'm happy to do, my list would be something like Larry Mullen Jr. from U2, Chris Slade from AC/DC,
And
Carter Buford from Dave Matthews Band. I am going to have to go with John Bonham from Led Zeppelin. I mean, the grooves, come on, you can't deny that. Led Zeppelin isn't even my top 3 bands, but man, those songs are classics. And he was a big part of it. Probably Stuart Copeland. Look at what all the great songs that he helped create, and he helped write, and he helped, engineer, produce. I know technically he did a lot of stuff with the Police other than just drumming
you can do the splits too.
in like 6 years. So let's see, is that 5? Let's see, I got Larry Mullen, Chris Slade, Carter Buford, John Bonham, and Stuart Copeland.
That is
Okay,
5.
So I've got 5. Let me give you just a little slice of my thought on each one. Larry Mullen Jr., technically not great. So then why do you put him in your top 5? Because the dude was super creative and innovative. Still is. I'm not talking about like the newest work though, because after you've been drumming in that same band for 30 or 40 years I think, usually your greatest stuff is going to be probably about 10 to 15 years into the band. So I'm going to look at that. So his 80s and 90s drumming is amazing. Not technically wise, but creative wise, because he would take normal beats and he would do something different with them. I mean, if you listen to like U2 1, it's probably one of their biggest songs.
It's the
He
one.
uses the floor tom and he sticks it on his left side as like an extra bass drum. he couldn't. He felt like he wasn't quick enough with his feet, so he innovated and overcame a shortcoming in his drumming and his technical playing by moving stuff around the kit in order to help him achieve what he wanted, the sound that he wanted. He also has stated, and obviously he has done it, is that he didn't want to sound like every other drummer, and he didn't want to play it in that same vein.
Because it's boring.
And he didn't. He would take most normal beats and he would always change it. Even stand-up comedy, which is supposed to be, it sounds, if you first listen to stand-up comedy, it's off their No Line on the Horizon album. It's supposed to be a normal rock song, but he actually plays it. If you listen to the drums, he doesn't play it in the normal way. And he intentionally did it. He could play it just with a straight, bass drum on the, one, snare on the two, or however you want to say it, but he could play it the traditional doo-ch, doo-doo-ch, but he doesn't do that. He does it totally different. Chris Slade. Chris Slade is the power drummer for AC/DC, and he's been in and out of the band over the last 20, 30 years, I guess. Like Phil Rudd is the kind of what everyone thinks of when they think of AC/DC. And then Phil Rudd actually was either kicked out or left the band in the early 80s. And then he came back in the late 2000s. He came back in the mid 90s.
He looks like the bad guy from Lord of the Rings.
But Chris Slade played like Thunderstruck, and he's on the live at Donington album, which is one of the best AC/DC albums. If you haven't heard that album, because you live under a rock, check out that album. Or if you hate AC/DC, I get it. But check out that album if you haven't heard it. Chris Slade would play these, he would play these power fills on, all these amazing songs that AC/DC has, because they've got a ton of hits. But he always, for me, his fills always helped the song. Like, they never took away from the song. They were always, and a lot of people say, oh, they're straightforward, but some of them aren't as straightforward as you think. If you go back and listen to it, some of them are a little tough. And he didn't even use his hands at times. And then if you listen to Let There Be Rock on the live at Donington, the dude's stamina, and for that speed, I think he plays that song for nearly 8 minutes. It's incredible. And he was playing 16ths the whole time. That is pretty cool. He's a machine. The third would be Carter Buford. Carter Buford is obviously amazing. He plays with both hands. They said he learned to play the drums by watching himself play in a mirror. That's crazy. That's cool. I like it. And I love to watch him. He plays with both hands, and he's always smiling and chewing his gum.
Blowing bubbles.
He sounds great. I always love to listen to him play because he plays differently than most drummers would play, like a lot of these songs, and I love it. It sounds different. It sounds great. He's always grooving with the bassist, and he just looks like he's having the best time whenever you watch him. But he's always doing something crazy, playing a lot of doubles and switching up, things, playing percussion with one hand and playing the main beat with another, or else he'll switch it and play it with the other hand. It's just crazy. The dude's almost cartoonish in the fact that he can do stuff like that. John Bonham. Where would rock be without John Bonham? Obviously, we would have got to the same place, I think, but we would have missed out on a lot. Look at what the guy has done. When the levee breaks.
When the levee breaks.
Doom, pa, doom, to doom, pa, doom, pa, doom, to doom, pa. Such a cool song. And that was the thing, is that he would groove on all of his songs. And he was freaking, super talented. I don't know if farming, because I guess he was a farmer when he wasn't playing in Led Zeppelin, helped him with that or what, but man, he could play. He could play fast. He could play hard. And he just played great grooves, and his fills were great too. And then he would play with his hands. He was an animal out there.
Slapped the shit out of those drums.
And it was great to listen to him. And then Stuart Copeland. What can you say about Stuart Copeland? The guy is a genius. He seems like a guy that you get annoyed with if you're around him too long. Because the guy's so smart and he's so all over the place. Like, he's got You know, he's one of those guys that seems like he's so smart and he's got like that ADHD. But God, those songs are classics. And he was, you know, he would help compose songs. And I think he's even a composer now for like symphonies. But just an amazing drummer. Did those triplets on the hi-hat. Everything she does is magic. Wow, what a great song. You know, and he would play like the reggae stuff, and then he would go into like some of the jazz stuff and the rock stuff, and he combined it all, and it sounded great. Very few drummers can do that. Can do like three really different styles and really make them work. It's one thing, you know, to do the rock and reggae type, but to combine it with some of the jazz stuff he did, I mean, that's just talent. That's creativity. That's everything.
That's drumming 101.
I mean, you know, there's so many great drummers out there. I'd like to hear what some of your guys' favorite drummers. You know, who are some of the drummers that you guys love to listen to and get inspired by, and just say, hey, you got to listen to this, or want me to check this out? Just let me know. I know there's a ton of amazing drummers and amazing musicians out there, but if there's some performance or some solo, you know, leave it down in the comment section. I'm always looking to check out some new drummer or some performance that I'd missed.
Some crazy
Anyway, I hope
shit.
that you guys have a wonderful rest of the day and that you guys stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.